session 5 of Living Without Fear. The next lesson that the story of the Hebrew people shows us is they had the presence of God with them. We've already mentioned the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire led them by day and by night. When Aaron gathered them all together to tell them about the quail and the manna, it says that they actually saw the glory of the Lord appearing in the cloud. When they came to Mount Sinai, they witnessed the presence of God in an awesome way. It's where they made the covenant with God, and he gave the 10 Commandments and told Moses about the building of the tabernacle. But Moses was summoned up the mountain to meet with God, and the people were forbidden to even go near or touch the mountain. Even animals that touched the mountain would have been put to death. But the people saw was a thick cloud. They heard thunder and lightning. They heard a loud trumpet blast. God's presence was very visible and obvious to them. The tabernacle that God told Moses to build was to be the very presence of God with his people. Whenever they set up camp, the tabernacle would be placed right in the centre of the camp, and all the tribes camped around it. And by now the priestly system was set up, and the high priest could go into the very most holy part of the tabernacle. That was where the very presence of God was with his people. However, when Moses wanted to talk with God, he set up a tent outside of the camp. It was called the tent of meeting. And when he went to talk with God, it says that the pillar of cloud would stand outside the tent, and so the people knew that Moses was there talking with God. When he descended from Mount Sinai the second time, his face was shining because he'd been in the presence of God, and the radiance of God, just the reflection of Moses' face, was too much for the people, and they made him wear a veil because they couldn't stand the amount of radiance. So they've had a tremendous experience of the presence of God with them, and yet, while Moses was up the mountain the second time, he was gone quite a long time, and the people wanted a God they could see, and so they built a golden calf out of all the jewellery that they brought with them from Egypt. And they were worshipping that golden calf when Moses came back down the mountain, and he was so angry that he threw down the tablets and smashed the tablets on which the 10 Commandments were written. He burnt the calf, and he ground up the ashes, put them in water and made the people drink them. And then God also sent a plague amongst them as a punishment for their sin. They'd had the presence of God in such a tangible way, and yet they still, when things weren't quite going the way they thought they should, they wanted to make a God for themselves. They'd seen the glory of God, they'd experienced his protection, they'd experienced his provision, and yet they turned away. We have the presence of God with us through the Holy Spirit. We can easily forget that he's there. We start to worry about our circumstances. We might even start complaining, God, where are you when I needed you? It's like building the golden calf. It really is an offence to God. Matthew 28:20, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age.
You have become for us wisdom. You have become for us righteousness. You have become our salvation. You have become our holiness. All that we need is found in you. All that we need is in you. All that